Hey, welcome back. This is Holistically Healthy TV. I'm Jim Burdumy. Today we're going to be talking about the deadlift. So the deadlift is one of the most important exercises you can do in the gym. It works so many different muscles. It's so beneficial. It's extremely functional. It helps you build tons of strength. And this is what we're going to be going over today. I'm going to be showing you how to do the Sumo Deadlift, which is a variation that I particularly like, and there's a few reasons for that. When you do the Sumo Deadlift, you're putting your body in a little bit more of a stable position because what's happening to the pelvis is you have something called force closure, where if you're opening up the pelvis in the front, because in the Sumo Deadlift you go really wide with your legs, and if you're going wide with your legs in the front, then typically in the back, the opposite is happening. And a lot of times we see this with other exercises. So if you're doing a biceps curl and you're contracting the bicep, you're stretching the tricep. And the opposite is true for the tricep. If you're contracting the tricep, you're stretching the bicep. So what's happening on one side, typically the opposite is happening on the other side. So same thing with the hips. If we're opening the hips in the front this way, the back is wrapping around the low back, the lumbar spine, and it's creating what's called force closure again, which puts the low back in a nice stable position. Also, what you're doing is you're lowering your center of gravity, getting yourself in a stronger position, right? I mean, most people, when they, a traditional deadlift would be feet are closer together, hands are on the outsides of the legs. With a Sumo Deadlift, you're going to widen the legs, and then you notice them getting shorter, and the hands are going to be directly underneath of the shoulders. So let's get into the technique. I want to share this with you, and I hope you choose to start doing this right away and implement it in your routine if you're not already. And if you're doing the deadlift, try the Sumo Deadlift as a variation, and you might find that it's actually a little bit harder. Some people have actually reported back to me that they find it harder to do the Sumo Deadlift than a traditional deadlift for whatever reason. So let's check it out. All right, so we're set up for the deadlift. We got 135 pounds on the bar. Obviously, if you're just starting out with the exercise and you've never done it before, you're gonna wanna practice with something like a dowel rod, which is just a wooden dowel, or a PVC pipe or something like that, or even just a plain bar that's maybe 15 pounds, 45 pounds, something like that, so you can get the rhythm. If you don't have anything like that, you can use, actually you can just use nothing. You just practice the movement that I'm gonna share with you and pretend that you have something in your hand, or use something like a broomstick, or to give you the landmarks that we're gonna go over. So I try to keep it really simple, even though the deadlift can be very technical, but for purposes of a video showing you some of the key points to hit during the deadlift and breaking the movement down into two pieces is probably the best that we're gonna, for the time that we have together. So what you're gonna do for the deadlift, for the Sumo Deadlift, is you're going to, I always like to position my ankles or my shins against the bar first, so I know exactly what point of the bar that my shin is at, and you typically line it up on the knurling, which is the grippy part of the bar. And a lot of times a bar will have a piece that's not knurled, and it's a shiny piece, and it's usually used as for landmark or something like that, so you can position your hands a certain way, or in this case our legs. So you want the bar placed right up against the legs, and I'll show you this way. I'll rotate. I'm sure you can probably see this way here. So the feet are wide enough here, and when you stand up and you go to grab the bar, the hands are going to be positioned right underneath of the shoulders. So if you're doing it and you're looking at it in the mirror, you're going to be able to look at the mirror and look at the hands and just basically draw an imaginary line from the shoulder to the wrists or the hands. So the bar always starts on the floor, so the movement is initiated off the floor and then kind of resets at the top position. So what you're going to do is, for you just starting out, we're actually going to start at the top position because normally the deadlift would start on the floor, but for our purposes we're going to start at the top because you might just be practicing this. So the way you want to do it is you want to stand, good posture, slight bend in the knees. You're going to tip. Notice how my hips are going back. You're going to tip the upper body forward slightly and the hips back as you're sitting down until the bar reaches the knees, and then practice that and just stand back up. You're going to tip forward, and I'm showing you slightly on an angle so you can see it's not just about my upper body being here and my butt doesn't go back and my butt doesn't tuck under and my knees thrust forward, okay? You want the bar to travel pretty much in a straight line. When you're up here, you want the bar to travel straight down. If you start to jut your knees out too much, the bar is technically going on an angle this way and then over the knee and along the shin, which is on another angle. So the bar is kind of traveling like this as opposed to straight up and down. So, starting in the top position again, I'm going to start here, feet are wide, arms shoulder width apart. You're going to tip forward, the bar always touches and stays in contact with the thighs, it grazes the thighs the whole time. Go forward until the bar gets to the knees, that's the first part. Okay, so that's part number one. Once you get to here, the upper body doesn't have to move anymore, it's already almost on a 45-degree angle. You just have to lower yourself with your legs until the bar gets to the floor. That's the second part of the movement. I don't want to try to make it seem too simple, but you also don't have to overcomplicate things at the same time too. So you have one part of the movement which is just going to the knees, and then the second part of the movement is going from here and just lowering the body, lowering the center of gravity down to the ground until the bar or the weights hit the floor. Now, the lower you go, if you're just starting out and you're saying, well, you know, I can't use 45 pounds on each side, that's okay, but you have to remember, the height of the bar on my shin, the bar is only probably about, I don't know, 10 inches off the floor, something like that. So you would want to get it pretty equivalent. If I put a 25-pound weight on each side of the bar, this is going to be significantly shorter and the bar is going to be lower. That's going to increase my difficulty levels. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to prop the bar or prop the, something underneath of the weights. And I typically use, you can see that in the frame, I don't know if you can, but the boxes right here, these boxes that I made out of wood and some rubber from the flooring. You can use something like that, or if you have any kind of, like those Reebok steps, something like that to lift the weight off the floor. Because if the bar lowers, then you're going to have to go down even farther to get the bar, and you're going to be using even deeper muscles in the glutes and things like that, and it's just going to increase the difficulty level. So that's how you do the deadlift. Of course, if you were here in person, we could go over it a little bit. The bar always grazes the shin, so if you're, if you don't want to cut up your shins, because a lot of times they always say good deadlifters have cut up shins, which I do right here, and so if you're not going to want to cut up your shins or have them bleed, because periodically that happens, then just make sure you're wearing long pants or long socks. But again, I'll show you here. You have good posture. Always look forward and arch the back. A couple key things that I forgot to mention. Notice how my elbows are pointing out this way. Bring your elbows and tuck them into the sides this way so they're facing behind you. What that does is that when you bring the shoulder blades in this way, it helps to bring your shoulder blades, or when you bring the elbows in this way, it helps to bring your shoulder blades back and keeps you in that good posture position. So when you're here, you're going to set up. You're going to arch the back, keep this nice and straight here. You're already slightly bent over. Point the elbows back, which helps the shoulder blades come back and keeps everything nice and tight in the shoulder girdle. Okay? Look where you're going. Always keep your eyes up. You don't necessarily have to have your head up because that can crane your neck and create, disc problems in your neck. But you want to at least look with the eyes 15 degrees above the horizon, because that will activate and excite the extensor muscles, the extensor chain, which is behind you, the posterior chain. All right, so we're going to look where we're going here. Eyes up, position right. Think of pushing away from the floor. You're not bending the arms at all. Push away from the floor until the bar gets to the knees, and then stand up. So that's how you would do the movement from the floor. And then when we go back down, you reverse it. Tip, 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 tip. Notice my knees are still slightly bent. Lower, it hits, then push away until the bar gets to the knees, and stand up. But when I stand up, I don't do this. Okay? Bar always stays in contact with the legs no matter what. Tip, 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 down, and stand up. Okay? So I hope that helps. Please ask me any questions that you have about this. I'd be happy to answer them in the comments below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, whatever the case is. If we're not connected on YouTube or Facebook, please subscribe below. Please give this a thumbs up, share it with anyone if you found this helpful, and I will see you next episode, because together, you and I, we're getting healthier every day.